Are you looking for love? Do you have relationship trouble? Or do you want to know if it's okay to have sex before marriage, or will God send you to hell for doing it? Well, you're in the right place. Welcome back to Unfolding Wings, the podcast here with the Holy Pastor and my friends Kayla and Diego. Say hi.
Hello.
Oh, hello. That we're going there.
A reminder that this podcast, I am a real person. We are real people, but this podcast doesn't necessarily represent our views or the church's views of which we attend. Now, we on Unfolding Wings have covered all the boring stuff in the first 2 episodes. All that how do you say that word? Chronological, boring stuff about growing up. But now we're into the fun stuff. This episode and here on every episode is going to cover some subject that is on your minds, young adults, as you try to make your way through life, as we try to make our way through life, hopefully a faithful way in life, so you don't burn in eternal hell. So we, especially me as the Holy Pastor, will help you out. So today we are going to talk about the really fun stuff, the most fun stuff, sex and dating, and actually mostly dating. Because when we first outlined our conversation on sex, it was a little too risque, even for us. We don't want to shy away from the risque stuff, but we didn't want to jump off a cliff with gleeful abandon either. So dating, mostly. Now, as human beings, we are essentially obsessed with dating starting in middle school. I don't have much experience with dating, though, so Kayla and Diego will definitely need to help me out. And I don't have much experience because, true story, God gave me a vision of the person I would marry way back when I was a sophomore in high school, 10 years ago. God even gave me the name of the woman and everything. So I guess that's a benefit of being the holiest of the holy. You don't ever have to worry about dating, especially because dating seems like hell already. So prove me wrong. Hopefully, dating is not hell, but let's start, friends, with what you look for in a dating partner. Stumped already. All right.
I mean, it is definitely hard because when you're dating, I feel like the first thing that draws you to somebody is definitely attraction, right? And then after that, you start like ticking off the boxes, like, is this person worth my time? Because every time I get to know somebody and I end up like not liking how maybe what their morals and values are, they become so much less attractive. Like I'm like, oh my God, did they just get ugly or was it a haircut? Like what happened? But it's like the way I'm perceiving them after they've after they've shown me their true colors. And then I'm like, we're out of here. They could be like the most beautiful looking person. Like, I don't know, it could be Chris Evans, but if Chris Evans ended up being like super conservative and just like, homophobic and all that, they'd be like, well, no more Chris Evans for me, I guess.
So Chris Evans would start looking like, I don't know, who's some not good looking actor.
I can't think of actor. Who's a terrible looking actor?
Well, you can't even, it's hard to even think of them because all the actors are pretty good looking. And that's kind of job description number 1 for them, I guess. But I get the point. So you start with physical attraction and you go from there. Is that what we're saying?
Yeah. It's because it's not completely all physical attraction. I feel like as you get to know the person and you like them, then they become more attractive, which is what you want to happen.
So I'm really glad you said that first. So if that was Diego's answer, he's not going to look so much like a male chauvinistic pig. Women care about physical looks as well. So that's good. But
yeah, sorry to interrupt, I guess. The only thing I look in a woman is her personality, and that's it. No, I'm just kidding. I
good
do
answer.
also.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. No, I think dating has such a, like, it depends, I guess, what people look for in dating. I guess why do I look specifically and when I was dating? I think it starts with how that person looks, and then it morphs into who they are, but definitely somebody I can spend time with and just be myself. Like, so that's a
Mhm.
big thing. I think when I was dating, like if that person thought I was weird, which is a lot of people, and you can tell that they were annoying, I would just not be cool, not be cool with it, but I wouldn't be enjoying it either because I don't want to pretend I'm somebody else. And somebody I can just laugh, just so a good friend, you know.
Yeah.
So that's pretty much what I was looking in dating. Apart from that, physically wise, you know, let's get a little shallow here. There wasn't much. There wasn't much I was looking for. I'm not saying that because I have just low standards. I'm just saying like I didn't have a type of what I was looking for when I was dating. I think I always it always came at different times in different places. Um,
Mhm.
Although my dating history is not like I would say the most linear or the best, I guess. I don't know.
I,
What did you say your dating was the best?
No, my dating was not the best. Like
Oh,
it's not, my dating history was not the best.
oh, what did he just? Oh my god, he just said something that I was like, yeah, that makes sense. Like okay, I agree about the type thing. I definitely there isn't like a certain type physically that I look at because it's outwardly when you see somebody for the first time, you usually see hopefully like a part of their personality, which also adds to the attraction, and that's I think what pulls you in at first because you're just like, oh, they're like really funny, and then they just get like better looking, I guess. But
Yeah.
like for sure, it's definitely not a type where I'm like, oh, he has to be, so and so height, and he has to like have this color hair and this color eyes, and he has to have a beard, or he doesn't have to have a beard, or like definitely does not matter to me.
Oh, I do have one thing that I needed to make sure that, like type wise, that I always looked in a person. They couldn't look like my mom. So no short Asian older ladies for me. That was like the only thing that I was not looking into. So if I saw somebody that looked like that resembled my mom or any of my family, like, no, it's all good.
not into the Oedipus complex thing. That's good.
No, sorry, Freud.
Wow.
Yeah, so I'm kind of shocked with your answers actually, and I knew you were gonna shy away from talking about physical types and things, but actually that's the holy way to go about dating and looking for a dating partner. Did you know this? Because it's pretty much chapter 1, verse 1 of the Bible that says our main purpose is to procreate, is to make more babies. So if you're a man, you should be looking for a curvy woman, big hips, but particularly big, upper regions. That's good because then you'll know that she will easily give birth to healthy children and she'll be strong enough to carry them around and feed them while we are out being the breadwinners. And so forget about trophy wife, right? We're looking for a trophy stay-at-home mother. It's ridiculous what society has done to our stay-at-home mothers. And so on the flip side, women should look for a man that well, actually, let's stop right there because it's not really necessary for a woman to look for a man at all. She's going to be chosen if she's worthy. But if she were going to daydream, I suppose she should look for a man with a lot of siblings because that proves he comes from fertile seed and will give her lots of babies, and that's her sole purpose in life. And this is all biblical, right? So why didn't you guys give the holy answer here of what you should be looking for in a dating partner?
uh, okay, that's a loaded question. Okay, well, first of all, okay, so the first thing I want to say is I do not want to have kids through my body, right? If I'm gonna have kids, I want to adopt. So that's number one. I was looking for somebody that was okay with that. Um, I I feel like I should preface this by saying I am married. So I did find a partner who thought the same way. I don't think that we should be procreating anymore, if I'm being honest. I think we need to take a little chill pill on that. I know that's like a little controversial to say, but we have so many problems. We're killing our planet, first of all. So I said that before, and I'll say it till I die, which would probably be soon the way our planet's going.
Oh my God. It got dark.
But it's just like I mean, okay, if we're gonna talk biblically and we're talking about like physical stuff, like first of all the people in the Bible, they were like they had many wives, and we don't do that today. And they had concubines, and hopefully people are out here not doing that. I know there's like polygamy, but we don't have to go down that road. So I just right now I think we need to focus on what we want out of life because life is short. We don't need to be procreating all the time. I don't think that's our purpose right now since we already did it. I think we can move on to the next part and just enjoy life and working on loving other people instead of making more.
So this chill pill that you're talking about, chill pill about procreating, is that in addition to the abortion pills that we take, or is it the same pill?
Oh my God. Okay. No, I'm not talking about Plan B. I mean, no.
Another conversation for another
Yeah.
day.
Yeah, that is a whole different conversation. Definitely not talking about abortion. I'm just talking about like safe sex, use the condom. There's other things I could list that I don't want to because it feels really awkward to say them out loud, but everybody knows, I'm sure, the other methods you can do to avoid getting pregnant. So
Yeah.
I can mention the the pill, which could be like the hormone pill. You can use anti sperm gel. You can use a sponge. There's also the women condom, man condom. You can use I just completely forgot the word for it, but pretty much
The
the
snip
T,
method?
the iron, the snip method if you want to just not have kids. And usually the man should get that because it's a lot safer for a guy to go through that than a woman, unless she's already having a C-section. I could talk to you about this, but that'll be
Here's our
a different day. I
doctor
could go for.
yeah, I know,
going
Dr.
on and
Urbina.
on.
But the best, like, obviously, like, yeah, there's different methods. Yeah, so I didn't mention it because I actually, when I was dating, I also thought I would never have kids. I didn't want to have kids when I was younger. And my mind was that I wanted to to go through a career path that I thought would be very detrimental for any children. So at the time I was in the military, I thought I was going to stay in the military, and I just thought the family life for somebody in the military was like, just very bad. So I didn't want to have kids. I never thought of dating somebody because I want to have kids. Actually, I never looked for dating for somebody to marry them or to even stay with them for a while. I was like always like, oh, this is just for fun. And I'm pretty sure those people I was dating to, they also knew that it was just, for that time being. It wasn't like for a long term. Until I met my current person that I'm with, who we have talked about children, and I didn't think about, when I met her, I didn't see her like, oh, the first thing I want to do is how her hips look and how her arms look, because I think that's what you were talking about, upper body. So her
Yeah,
arm strength,
strength.
although it's, um, I didn't look for that specifically. I think the reason is that, like Kayla said, I think that we're a different generation than the past. Before, kids were needed to help you, with the farm or help you with a lot of different things, and that's why people saw the necessity to look that in a woman. Um, Not to say that women back then were also used just as part of property, and that's the reason that we can get into marriage later on, and the difference between why agriculture brought into monogamy, and then the different cultures where the agriculture was different brought into polygamy and polyandry and polygamy, depending on where you are. Yeah, so I never looked into just procreating, and also like for me in my mind, like having children, you can have children also through adoption. My sister's adopted, and I think that there's a lot of kids in the homes and the families, and I agree, we're overpopulated. Although I don't think we're gonna die soon, hopefully. I mean, my grandkids might, but I hope I live a long life.
Yeah, well, just in case the World War III starts or global warming strikes in the next 10 minutes, so you kind of mentioned that at first you didn't look for somebody to have kids with, but I mean, what's the point of dating if you're just going to have fun? I mean, if you're not looking for a marriage partner, what's the point? Because marriage is the only way you can have sex without being condemned to hell. Because sex outside of marriage is the worst. I'm pretty sure there are like 3 levels of sin, and sex outside of marriage is the worst one. So you should be looking for someone to marry eventually. So what is the point of dating just for fun if you know it's not going to lead to marriage? What is that about?
Okay, so I guess this is like the way I kind of look at it. I don't think that I don't think our purpose is to get married, at least not anymore. I don't think that marriage needs to happen. I don't think everybody is meant to end up with somebody else. Um, I mean, like personally, I also don't believe in soulmates and all that stuff. So for me, I just think that dating and I don't, I'm not even touching like the sex part, but just like dating in general and finding a partner. I think that's just like to have a good support system in your life that you can live with and be with, and that that person's going to be there for you, and because life is hard. We live in a world where life is super hard. Having somebody there that shares the same views as you towards life and is there supporting you through all the hard stuff, I think it's just nice to have somebody like that in your life, and the sex is a bonus.
But I mean, how many stories have I heard of people who they're dating, and once something goes rough in their life, their dating partner leaves them because they can't deal with the drama, and they don't want any part of that. So if you're dating to have a support system, but your support system is going to leave you, is that
Yeah,
still a good reason? You just need to hope that you found a good person?
I think it's a part of life. Personally, I mean, like, I don't know if Diego agrees, but personally, I think it's a part of life. I don't think that every single partner that you have needs to last forever. In in my opinion, I think that having that support system in your life at that time could have been good. If it doesn't last, it doesn't last. I mean, what are you gonna do? You're gonna die? No, you're gonna go on with life, and life's gonna be fine. You're gonna be fine. If anything, you'll probably grow from the experience and know that the next partner that you look for or find, you're gonna be like, okay, well, it didn't work out with the last person because of so and so reason. So for my next partner, I'll make sure that, maybe we don't do that again. And I mean, like, if you want to get married, then get married. If you don't, then don't. You don't, I don't believe that we have to get married. I think that that's something that now in my older age, now that I have my own opinions and thoughts aside from my parents, I've learned that, we don't have to go out our purpose isn't to find a life partner, is what I should say. So.
Well, if
Holy
you
Pastor.
agree, Diego, I'm not going to tell either of your partners about this conversation.
Yes, they definitely will not find it anywhere, such as Spotify, um, and listen to this podcast. Um, yeah, I mean, Holy Pastor, I have to say, like, have you ever played mini golf by yourself? I mean, that's what whole dating is. So you can do fun stuff with somebody else uh, that you find
I have
attractive.
actually. I need to practice, so I often go by myself.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I apologize. Well, I'm not a professional mini golfer, so I think that yeah, I think dating is just I mean we're very social people. I think just people in general, even if you find yourself an introvert or extrovert, and just like that emotion that you feel when you find a funny meme, and the first thing you want to do is share with somebody so they can laugh with you. I think that's every part of life, and people change throughout time. Sometimes you change in a week, and that's why you have dates that go on 1 or 2 dates, and the second day you're like, oh no, this person's not for me. I think more that's changed more of like just finding other people, I mean, more about that person. But yeah, so changes happen. And I agree with Kayla. Like it is hard to say I want to go marry this person right away because you don't know if you're gonna be with that person forever. And I think that yeah, like back in the day, marriage was a little bit more about back in the day, more about uniting families for more control and power, and also a little more on like on the patriarchy side of things, of the man having control over the woman in marriage and for procreation. Like back in the day in Greece, when when a woman got married off, the dad would say, "Oh, here, I give you my daughter, so you can have good offsprings," and that was pretty much the meaning of marriage. There was no um, marriage because of love or because of finding somebody, and I think that has kind of translated towards the newer version of us right now in Christianity, of where like we have to get married right away, but also you have to find love, because we're in modern era, and we all have watched um, you know Love is Blind, and we all have watched The Bachelor, so we know love is real due to these things. So that's why we also like combine those two things at once, and that's why we think that to dating the only thing is marriage. The funny thing is that like as us as human beings, biologically speaking, right? We're not really that monogamous. So we're sometimes called serial monogamous, meaning that we can be monogamous with one person for a certain amount of time. Usually, type of um, like species, they have that time for the growth of the offspring, and then they get married off. I'm not saying that we all are like just our natural brothers and sisters out in the nature, but I'm saying like that's how pretty much humans were made biologically speaking. And some scientists agree there's about 18 years the span of a marriage, or not a marriage, but of unity between two single people. And then this is we're talking about like cis relationships, not getting into asexual or any other different types of relationships. And the funny thing is that also, and I will make you guys too uncomfortable with this, but also the biggest thing is like, I mean, if you look at the male penis, right, the way it's built, it's like a little
Right, here we
mushroom.
go.
Uh, and the reason that it was built that way is, biologically speaking, it's evolutionary, that our ancestors that had that modification, if you want to say, survived more because they were able to scrape the semen of past partners in the 48 hours of that woman. And so, evolutionary speaking, that's the reason that it shaped that way. So we were not monogamous back in the day.
It
And
wasn't
also the reason that
because the reason isn't because it looks like food and women thought it was going to be delicious.
thought it was,
Okay, we're gonna have
I
to
mean,
bleep that out.
hopefully not, because then you get it. I mean, some women have chopped it off, but we're not gonna go into that. Uh, yeah,
No.
no, it's not because of that. It's for scraping. And the other part is like the reason women, whenever, I mean, you have, a woman's period, but that's after she's fertile. But the reason that actually they have a hidden time where they're ovulating and when they're fertile is so the man wouldn't know who was the one that procreated with her. So all of that came to be that a man, as males, we actually they worry about whose offspring is who. Like I want to take care of my offspring, not take care of other people's offspring. While the woman's side, she doesn't care who the man offspring is. She wants to this is not talking about women men nowadays, but kind of like that's the reason. The marriage is such a I'm going all over the place, I apologize, but what I'm bringing back is that that's the reason that marriage is such a like newer concept. And there's different reasons that people are like, oh, why did marriage come from? Why did it come from um like the agriculture, when once we start having a lot of kids for that? Did it also come because back in the day there was a lot of infanticide? So if you want to have a woman but they're having a kid, they will kill the kid to be able to have sex with the mom, if you want to think like that. And that happens still in out in the lion world, for example, because if you ever watch the Lion King, like with real lions, it would be a very bloody, like Simba would have been dead, like from the beginning, from the get-go. But that's what happens. So I think that's what we're pulling away from that, because marriage is not a construct that it was needed for us biologically speaking. Now, taking away from that, going to more spiritually speaking,
Yes,
I
let's
don't
do
know.
the
Does anybody
spiritual.
have any thoughts? Yeah, we're backing away from all of these things. Sorry, I apologize.
So
I,
so I
yeah.
I mean, it's fascinating. It's almost sounds like you went to school and got an education, which is awesome. But I mean, didn't we say that we didn't like polygamy earlier? I think somebody said that.
I
Uh, but
okay.
it
I
sounds
said
a
I didn't
lot
want
like
to.
polygamy, what we're talking about.
I said I didn't want to touch on it. Everything Diego just said. I actually just read a book recently called Sex at Dawn, and they touch on everything Diego just said, explaining how from agriculture came like the marriage and monogamy, because before it was more like, these little villages that were coming together to raise a family, and it wasn't just like one man, one woman. It was literally like it takes a village to raise a child, right? Like literal meaning right there. And then how agriculture came about and people started living further apart, then that's what came to be when people started just living as monogamous couples. I think like spiritually, what people use marriage for is maybe to, although it seems to be failing in a lot of places, but I feel like what marriage is made for spiritually, biblically speaking, is so that people remain faithful and don't go around sleeping with everybody else and committing these like, you know, sex sins, as you would say. But
Mm. You might be onto something there.
mhm.
Yeah, especially because Paul says we should remain single so that we don't commit any sex sins whatsoever. Even sex inside marriage, Paul in the Bible is not a fan of. But he says if you can't control yourself, you should get married so that
Mhm.
you can remain faithful. I wouldn't say this, but I suppose I can understand logically that life expectancy back then was only about 18 years past marriage, so that makes sense. So, all right, marriage is not for you guys. It's not the end all be all of dating. Have someone to be social with, essentially. But what's the difference between having a romantic partner to be your support system, go have fun with, and a friend? Why do you need to have a romantic partner when you could just have friends?
Because I mean, I'm not having sex with friends, right? So I think like,
So it does
when you're
come down to the sex.
I mean, well, okay. All right. Yes. So I guess it kind of does, right? Because I mean, when you come together with a partner, I think most people are committing to each other and they're saying, okay, well, right now we're together, so we're only gonna have sex with each other, we're gonna be together, blah, blah, blah. Everything that a romantic couple entails. When you have a friend, I mean, like, sex isn't there to I don't want to say like make it complicated, but essentially like that piece is out of the window. So that's not something that you have to worry about, hopefully, down the line. With friends, it's literally just like, hanging out, having fun, support. And then with your partner, you're doing all of that as well, but you're committing to having a life together, being there for each other. And there's also money, I feel like, is involved in that aspect as well for some couples. So there's also that. So,
I mean, yeah, I think also like you can have um many friends, and when at the end of the day, everybody goes back to their own individual homes. I think with a relationship, no matter if it's just a regular cis relationship or not, or even if there's uh, a plural marriage, and we're talking about polyamory, we're not talking about like polygamy or polygamy. You form kind of a unity, so no any longer you are just yourself, but you're going through life as just one person in a way, um, and that can have a lot of advantages from, um, you are completing yourself with other people's skills, as well as you're completing them with your own sets of skills, and so on. I think when things get hard, just for example, the death of somebody that you really love or anything like that, like a parent, sometimes it is the person that that partner at a time, no matter if you end up with them later in life or not, is the person that's there with you, because in a way they're like the other leg to stand on, right? Like you can have something standing in two legs, but it's always more stable if it has four legs, like a table or chair. Um, so I think that's where it comes from. I think we start talking about this because of the whole thing of sex before marriage. So holy pastor, so I'm guessing you think sex before marriage it's wrong, correct?
Oh, well,
And
obviously, yeah,
but what does that entitle? Does that also entitle any type of sex, even
that's right.
self?
Even self, yeah, absolutely. There's a story somewhere in the Old Testament where someone did self stimulation and was struck down dead.
Yeah.
So
I,
there's that.
I think intent and consent are important when it
Hmm.
comes to sex outside of
The
marriage.
tense.
Uh, intent,
The
right? Because
tense, yeah.
like sex outside of marriage,
Oh,
I definitely don't think that like sleeping around is healthy. I mean, psychologically, it's known to affect your brain, regardless of if it's a committed relationship or not. So like, I feel like when you sleep around and you're having multiple partners, it's affecting you. When you have a committed relationship, you're having sex outside of marriage, you feel good, you feel loved because you feel safe, right? It's a safe space where you can come together and have sex. And I don't think that that should be really frowned upon. It'd be different if it was, like I said, you're just like, boom, 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 there's a new person every night because not only are you spreading your seed, but also it's affecting not only you, but also the other people. I feel like, I mean, for me, like sex is a very not just like physical thing, but a very like emotional. I don't really know how to explain it, but it means more to me than it's just like, oh yeah, well, I just got an orgasm, we're good to go, like boom, done. If it's I feel like for me there's a lot more meaning behind it than just like getting laid.
it's like it's like Avatar for you. Like you guys connect your hair
Yeah, our
together
little
and feel the connection through the world and the tree. It was really weird that part because then also like were they also having sex with the horses and the flying things because I got connected. Anyways, I yeah, I mean I sorry, I yeah, it's interesting. Um, what Kayla said. I would raise this question. What about people that might have an open marriage or that might be in the style, in the lifestyle? I think that's what they call it, the swinging.
Mhm.
Do you think?
I am man, disappointed you brought that up because uh,
No.
I was
I'm the
already questioning the holiness of you two. But I was going to give you the benefit of the doubt and say that somehow or another, despite your unrighteousness, you had come around to saying essentially that when two become committed, they become one flesh or whatever it is. They're no longer man and woman or whatever. They become one flesh. Essentially, that's what you're saying, right? Is that they in a committed relationship, you are supporting one another in that kind of a way. Although uh, you are questioning the sacredness of marriage, but then the open marriage question, gosh,
Mhm.
throws a
I
huge wrench in that.
I it feels weird saying this. Feels really weird saying this on a religious podcast, but personally, because it's not my marriage. So if everybody involved consents and they all have good communication between them, that's on them. If they want to have an open marriage and, you know, both, or if this is a poly relationship, all are willing participants and they feel like they have the safe space to do that, then I don't care.
So when three become one flesh, then or four or five.
That's
the
something that
more
they need to deal with, right? That's something that they need to think about. They have to live with. Would
the
I
more
personally
legs
do
in the
it?
table, the
No.
more stable it is.
Okay, Diego.
I'm talking about a relationship. Like so bring it back to I think that so to rail in what I just the what I made the mess that I made. I mean I agree with Caleb to a point of having sex with a person every day probably is not the healthiest, but I think it comes to from where that comes from. Like just like drinking or smoking weed, which is more acceptable now, or even indulging in your favorite food like coffee or chocolate. Where does that come from? Are you filling a void, or are you doing this as somebody that's an adult that is, you know, that knows like what the consequences and what the consequences might be of those actions. Are you using protection because that is high risk, and we have a lot of
Yeah.
diseases that goes around. Are you doing this to because you have a mental illness? Saying that people that have sex a lot have a mental illness, but some people that might be bipolar, might be hypersexual,
Mhm.
whether they're manic. So like there's a lot of question that comes into that. uh, and I think when it comes to not having sex before marriage, being it's not chastity. Is it chastity? Being celibate,
Element.
celibate, being celibate and stuff like that. I think that it is not the only answer for a couple if they're gonna
Mhm.
get married, or for a person that's single. But it's, I guess, sometimes the most safe in a way. And when it comes to like, say like if you go your whole life without skydiving, you're definitely not gonna die from skydiving because that's the most safe way to live. But you're also not gonna enjoy the skydiving experience. So I think that it's kind of like that. I mean, it is the safest thing in a way, but also there's other things I think that tying out to the sin part that you brought, Holy Pastor. There's other things I think that are more sinful when it comes to sexuality, and when it comes to relationships that hurt you
Mhm.
more. If you think of sin, something that hurts you and others, rather than just having premarital sex, or having sex outside marriage. When it comes to you know um, the lifestyle, if I want to say.
I I have a quick question because I can't remember. So in the Bible, does it specifically say not to have like sex outside of marriage, or is it just saying if you are, then to get married?
That is a complicated question that you ask, because I think it says both, but it also talks, as you said earlier, about uh, men having multiple wives.
Mhm.
Um, and Abraham's wife encourages him to go sleep with their slave woman. That's not a healthy relationship. But maybe we'll come back to that, and we'll
Yeah,
have a more
but
firm
killing.
answer,
Yeah,
because God is not
Yeah.
giving me a direct answer right now. So
Uh,
yeah.
um,
I mean,
I'm
the
just
Bible's cool with you like killing the girl's husband by sending him to battle so you can be with her. I remember that,
oh
and
man,
exactly
famous,
and
King
famous
like
David. King
peeping
David could do
King
tom,
no wrong.
David.
and
King
peeping tom,
David,
King
man.
David looking while she showered, like So there are some exceptions in the Bible. So I'm just saying, like,
I
I
don't
we
think
can.
I don't think they had showers 3,000 years ago. I think she
it was
was
a bath,
I think she
right?
was
bathing.
bathing.
Yeah.
Sorry.
But no, like okay, so like coming back to what Diego said really quickly, I don't disagree with anything you said. I think it is important to look back at what the reason is behind what we're doing. Just like marriage. I mean, when you're bringing it back to like where did marriage come from and all that, I think it is important to look at those aspects as to why we do what we do, because no two humans are really the same. I mean, we all are individuals, and I feel like everybody processes things differently. Everybody has a different level or limit that they are able to have when it comes to having multiple sex partners or just one sex partner. So I guess it just depends on the person, whatever you're comfortable with. And if you're in a responsible situation and you're not doing it unhealthily, that's not a word, but that's where I guess that's where I stand. It's not, I'm comfortable with what I'm comfortable with.
So, I mean, both of you have redeemed yourselves a little bit by saying that we shouldn't be dating or having sex to fill a void. That we should deal with ourselves first.
No pun
And
intended, by the way, when that.
yeah, right, exactly. So we clearly had a lot to say about sex before marriage, and this conversation focused much more on sex than I had thought, and talking talking about bleeping. people who aren't young adults probably won't want to listen to this episode. So that'll be fun. And there are a lot of questions we still have left to talk about. So maybe we'll have to do another episode on dating. Like, where do you find a dating partner? Especially, both of you talked about personality and morality as part of it. Where are you supposed to find someone like that? Because our churches nowadays, the average age is like 60 years old. And I think older, experienced women are extremely attractive. But they also can't procreate, so why bother dating them, you know? So that's biblical, I think. You know, so, but that's a question. Where do we find a dating partner? And also, how many dates before you invite them to church? Because that's part of dating, is inviting them to church. Inviting them to have a one-on-one conversation with the pastor to make sure that they're a worthy dating partner. But we don't have time for any of that. Because we're coming up to our time, and I wanted to make sure that we covered the important stuff here before we finished up this episode. So I don't know if you've seen 30 Rock, our listeners. Diego, Kayla, have you seen 30 Rock?
No.
Unbelievable.
Nope.
All right, so it's probably because at this point it's ancient. It's, you know, it's 10 years old now. But I love Kenneth on the show because he represents the faith well, even with Satan all around him. But I'm thinking of season 3, I think it is, where Liz Lemon, played by Tina Fey, she writes a skit and then a book called Deal Breakers. It's stuff like, if your man is over 35 and still eats Lucky Charms, that's a deal breaker, ladies. Which is a good thing. I don't believe in divorce because I still eat Lucky Charms. But another one is something like, your boyfriend barks like a dog in bed and then howls at orgasm. Shut it down. That's a deal breaker, ladies. So do we have deal breakers, like just absolute deal breakers? We can't stand them. We won't deal with it.
I definitely do.
Don't date any guys without a, what's it called, without a headboard on their bed? Hence, I shouldn't be saying that because I don't have a headboard on my bed. But that's because I'm in like moving kind of status right now. What's it? I already said a thing about deal breaker. My deal breakers don't look like my mom. That was my biggest thing.
Looks like your mother. Okay, yeah, that's a good one.
Don't look like my mom.
Kayla, you said you have deal breakers?
Yeah, I have a few. But I feel like they all like fall kind of under one umbrella. Mine is definitely like if they're homophobic or they're racist, or that's a no, never, not even a chance. So I think like, but if it was like physical stuff, bad hygiene would be one.
Yeah, hygiene is the biggest thing. I think, but you see, I'm different. I like to fix my partners. I want to find them and just fix them.
No, don't be a fixer, Diego. Don't be a
You should have
fixer.
met. You should have met me in my early 20s. You would have been like, "No, honey, no."
Oh, no, buddy, I had to learn that the hard way. Don't be a fixer.
Dating episode number 2, including all the other questions we still have left, will be: should you fix your partner? Answer no. All right, so someone trying to fix you, that's a deal breaker for sure.
Yes.
Yeah. All right. Because only God can fix us, right? Yeah.
Yes. And good psych medications.
That's right. All right. So we also wanted to talk about pickup lines before we ended. So best pickup lines you've ever used, or have thought about using. Our producer is going to give out points for his favorites. So let's go. What are your favorites?
Diego, do you have one? Because mine is more like not a line. It's like a thing.
What, did you do like the bend the snap back in the day? Like, you know, like
like I think
Legally Blonde.
Do you remember like growing up? I feel, especially like at church camp when I would go, it was like if a guy really liked me, they would always do that thing where it's like, oh, let's compare hands, you know, and they do that hand thing. And I was a sucker every time because hand touching, not even like hand holding. I'm not a fan of hand holding, but hand touching is nice.
That was like the whole thing of church camp.
What?
Hand touching.
Yeah, they'd like somehow they'd always find some weird hand game to play, and then you end up like touching hands, and I was like, oh no, I like this. That was the worst. But it worked.
Didn't even know it was a thing.
I went to the
Wow.
YMCA summer camp, which was actually on Main Street because we didn't actually have a camp, so there was a lot more than hand touching in my camp. I have one. Holy Pastor, if you'll play with me, just pretend you're the person I'm talking to. So, do you have the
Absolutely.
Band-Aid, Holy Pastor?
No, I don't.
Oh, because I scraped my knee falling for you.
Oh.
And then you do the eyes.
Yeah, the eyes. The blinky eyes.
You know, it's so funny, but like corny stuff like that would work on me. I'd be like, damn, he had the confidence to say it.
Really?
Yeah.
So, all right. So mine, and this might have worked at the YMCA summer camp, is, do you need prayer? Because I'm more than willing to lay hands on you.
Oh, that's a spicy one. I have one, like, if anybody in church is listening to anybody that wants to get somebody's number, you can be like, last night I was reading the book of Numbers and realized I didn't have yours.
Nice.
Oh,
555 555. All right. I may not have a job right now. I may live in my parents' basement, but I promise you, I'm storing up my treasure in heaven, and my mansion is gonna rock.
Oh my god.
that sounds like a sales pitch more than
It does.
Yeah.
Looks
I'm
like
not a loser.
After you bring the girl back home and she realizes you live with your parents. Listen.
I'm storing
But
up my
all this-
treasures in heaven for you, baby.
That's it.
Gail, I have one for you to tell your husband.
All right, let me
You
hear it.
ready? Is it hot in here, or is it just the Holy Spirit burning inside of you? Which could also be an STD joke, but let's not go there.
I'm gonna tell him that one today. That'll be good.
Yes.
All right, my last one
That's
is my last pickup line is, you want to come over and watch Left Behind?
No, that is not a line.
That won't
work. As somebody that is not in the life, what is Left Behind?
Bro.
Oh man.
Bro.
Go watch it.
The VeggieTales is the only like pop Christian culture that I know.
Well, because that's the only one that should matter.
Yeah, VeggieTales. We are supporters of VeggieTales here on this podcast. Yeah, Left Behind is a story of everyone being raptured to heaven, and then the stories of those who are left behind at the end times. Yeah.
Oh wow.
Fun one. All right, so the scores are coming in from our producer. Oh, and our producer says I win 100-0. So
that's a scam.
No, because God is our producer, and God is not a scam. Thank you very much. All right, so I think we learned some things about dating. We learned a lot of biology and evolution and taking care of ourselves, being comfortable, safe spaces. Some things I think we can all agree on, even me, the holy pastor guy. So good work. Thank you all for listening. I'm the holy pastor here with my friends, Kayla and Diego, and we just talked through what all of you young adults need to survive the dating world. Well, maybe not all, because we'll probably need to have another episode, we've learned. And hopefully you can find a way to survive that dating world faithfully while you're at it, and not be left behind when Jesus comes back. So say goodbye to our friends, Diego, Kayla.
Bye. Oh, I can't see it.
Goodbye. I forgot that
Bye.
they're
Yeah,
listening
you
to us
gotta
that
unmute
way.
yourselves there. All right.
Yeah, goodbye.
All right. Goodbye. Don't leave yet, though, because I still need to say you can find all our episodes wherever you get your podcasts, Spotify or those other things. What are the other things? iPodcast or something. But join us next time. And until then, keep it holy, friends.